A man wakes up in a small cold cell on level 48. His name is Goring. He looks around and he sees another man, his cellmate, Trimagasi, who sits quietly in the adjacent bunk. Without exchanging many words, Trimagasi begins to explain to him that they are in a tower-style prison. He approaches him to shake him, but Trimagasi refuses to shake him, but he walks Goring through the basic rules of the prison. He explains that each day, a food supply arrives on a large platform that descends from level 0. This platform stops for 2 minutes on each level, and prisoners may only eat while it is stationary on their level. The further down a level 1 is, the less food remains on the platform when it stops. As Trimagasi speaks, Goring listens with growing understanding and unease. He learns that every month, the prisoners are randomly reassigned to a new level. Trimagasi also reveals that he was once assigned to level 132. He and another cellmate resorted to cannibalism to survive. It is also revealed that Goring volunteered to spend 6 months in the facility in exchange for a diploma, a chance to earn a qualification despite the harsh conditions. Trimagasi, in contrast, has been transferred as part of a longer sentence, now serving a full year in the pit for murder. As they were still talking, a large platform of leftover food descends and stops at their prison cell. The old man begins to eat, but Goring hesitates. He only picks an apple and puts it in his pocket. The old man then goes his bed. Suddenly, the room temperature begins to get very hot and unbearable, and the old man explains to him that any food kept by anyone would cause that cell to begin to burn or even freeze unless the food is returned. He immediately throws back the apple down, and the temperature on that level normalizes immediately. One day, as the platform makes its descent, a woman appears on it. Her presence is unexpected amid the monotonous daily routine, but the old man is not bothered. Her name is Miharu. Trimagasi explains that Miharu regularly rides down the platform. She does so in search of her child. Goring becomes worried as he watches her go down to the next level. As she descends, the men on that level rushes towards her in a bid to rape her, but Goring is shocked to see that she kills them both and goes back to the platform. Days pass by. Goring and Trimagasi develop a cautious friendship. Their routine is marked by long hours of confinement, the daily arrival of food on the platform, and the constant uncertainty of which level they will be assigned next. Their discussions are simple, focused on survival and the mechanics of the daily process. Each day, they mark the passage of time by the steady descent of the platform, the predictable interval of 2 minutes per level, and the silent counting of the levels as they pass by. Time passes slowly in the cell. The monotony is punctuated only by the mechanical arrival of the platform. Goring observes that even though the platform comes each day, the amount of food on it appears to diminish with each lower level, as Trimagasi had explained. The constant reassignments add a layer of uncertainty. The prisoners learn to rely on the scheduled arrival of food as their only lifeline, and they become keenly aware of every change in the platform's movement. The daily cycle, though repetitive, is a matter of life and death. Trimagasi continues to share his experiences. He describes, in plain and matter-of-fact terms, the horrors of level 132, when he and another cellmate had been forced by starvation into cannibalism. Goring and Trimagasi are reassigned to level 171. They wake up one morning on a new level. Goring wakes up bound with clothes on his bed by the old man. Trimagasi is beside his bed and with his knife in his hand methodically explains his plan to use Goring's flesh as a source of sustenance. He promises to fast for the first 8 days but will start eating him after that. On the 8th day, he retrieves his knife and begins to cut into Goring's flesh. Goring screams, and just at that moment, the platform arrives, and Miharu appears on the descending platform. Without delay, she makes her way into the cell area. She swiftly attacks Trimagasi. In the ensuing struggle, Miharu overpowers him and frees Goring from his restraints. With the cell now thrown into chaos, Goring, roused and driven by a mix of shock and survival instinct, retaliates. He jumps on Trimagasi and stabs him to death. He later consumes part of Trimagasi's flesh. Soon after, however, Goring finds that he cannot escape the memories of Trimagasi. Haunting hallucinations of his former cellmate begin to appear, serving as a constant reminder of the betrayal and horror that unfolded in his cell. The next morning, Goring slowly opens his eyes on level 33. The cell is different now. In the dim light, he sees a woman, Imogwiri, holding her dog, Rameses II. Her habits are distinct. She eats only every other day, allowing Rameses II to eat on the alternate days. She arranges 2 plates with food and attempts to advise those below her to ration their food. However, they yell at her and ignore her. Goreng tells her not to waste her time. In time, a day comes when Miharu reappears on level 33, though this time she is injured. Without hesitation, Imogwiri and Goreng combine their efforts to nurse her back to health. They clean her wounds and share portions of their scarce food. However, a sudden confrontation shatters this temporary harmony. A heated dispute arises between Miharu and Imogwiri. Goreng, drawn into the conflict, steps forward and intervenes to separate the two. Miharu had, in a desperate act, butchered Rameses II. The dog lies motionless on the floor. Miharu departs soon after this revelation, leaving Goreng with a heavy heart. Goreng learns, in simple matter-of-fact exchanges, that Imogwiri was once an administration official. Before his assignment to the pit, she had interviewed him. Later, after receiving a terminal cancer diagnosis, she chose to volunteer and live among the prisoners. In a moment of quiet reflection, he asks Imogwiri about Miharu's child, but she replies with a simple, stark statement, "There are no children in the pit, and Miharu came alone." The following morning brings another disorienting change. Without warning, the prisoners are reshuffled, and Goreng finds himself transferred to level 202. When Goreng awakens in his new cell, he is met with a shocking sight. Imogwiri has hanged herself. The room is silent as Goreng processes this irreversible loss. The ritual of shared survival is now marred by grief. With heavy resignation, vivid hallucinations of his former cellmates, faces blurred by memory and guilt, haunt him. In the numb aftermath, driven by a deep survival instinct, he consumes part of Imogwiri's flesh. Almost immediately, the act, as unadorned as it is, marks a turning point in his internal struggle. Weeks later, in the 5th month of the journey, Goreng is assigned to level 6. The drastic change in level brings with it a new cellmate, Baharat, whose ambitions are immediately apparent. Baharat is restless and determined. He hangs a rope around him and keeps shouting. Baharat tries to convince those at level 5 to help him climb up so he can escape. However, the level above deceives him, and when he climbs to where they were to lend him a hand, they pooped on his face, causing him to lose his rope and nearly plummet to his death, but Goreng immediately saves him. Soon again, the platform descends with almost untouched food. Goreng starts to eat, but Baharat is still sad at what happened. Goreng then throws him an apple. Goreng, recognizing the critical need to conserve resources and food, convinces Baharat to join him on a daring plan. They arm themselves and decide to ride the platform down together, agreeing to ration the sparse food they collect along the way. As the platform descends through the first 50 levels, they agree among themselves that no one should take any food that day, confident that tomorrow would bring a new chance. However, as they travel, their determination takes on a more aggressive tone. They encounter groups of prisoners who try to claim portions of the limited rations. In these moments, Goreng and Baharat engage in brutal confrontations, their actions stark and unforgiving. They attack those who resist their new order, and in the ensuing clashes, several protesters fall, their struggles quickly subdued by the hardened duo. In the chaos, they encounter a fellow prisoner known as Sincher Brambang appears. Recognizing Baharat, he scolds him for his excessive aggression. Brambang's words are simple and direct, offering advice on how to conduct themselves in the descent and urging them to send a symbolic message to the administration. He suggests that they leave a single panna cotta untouched, a small, deliberate act meant to signify defiance and unity among the prisoners. They realize this, and they keep a single panna cotta in their hand as they descend. The journey continues as Goreng and Baharat descend further, their control over the distribution of food becoming both a survival strategy and a means of exerting power. They methodically hand out portions to the other prisoners, attacking and subduing those who refuse to comply with their newfound order. As the platform makes its steady journey downward, a heartbreaking scene unfolds. They come upon Miharu again, this time under attack by a small group of desperate prisoners. Despite their attempts to save her, the chaos is overwhelming. Miharu, once a symbol of hope and resilience, falls in battle. She is killed, and both Goreng and Bharat suffer severe injuries in the process. Undeterred, the pair continue their descent. Eventually, the platform stops at level 333, a level where the dwindling number of survivors and the scarcity of resources create a profound stillness. It is here that Goreng notices a small figure, a child, huddled among the other prisoners. The child, with frightened eyes, is recognized as Miharu's daughter. Goreng, moved by the sight of the child, disembarks from the platform along with Bharat. However, as soon as they leave, the platform continues its descent without them, leaving the two in a state of distress and isolation. In the quiet that follows, Goreng struggles to reconcile his sense of responsibility. He tries to persuade Bharat to feed the child the single untouched panna cotta, the symbolic message that had been spoken of earlier. Bharat, repeating the phrase, "The panna cotta is the message," in a steady low tone, initially refuses but eventually changes his mind. With a reluctant hand, he gives the child the dessert. That night, Goreng dreams a surreal, unsettling dream. In his vision, Bharat's voice echoes clearly as he tells him, "The girl is the message." When Goreng awakens, his heart sinks further. He discovers that Bharat has bled out. Alone now with the child, an injured and haunted Goreng boards the platform once more. He clutches the small girl, and they begin a slow, painful descent to the bottom of a dark pit, a descent that feels as endless as the years they have already spent in this tower. In the depths of that darkness, as the platform shudders and rumbles, Goreng once again hallucinates the presence of Trimagasi. In this hallucinatory moment, Trimagasi's apparition tells Goreng that his journey is over. Yet Goreng, driven by a deep internal need, explains silently that he must bear the message. Trimagasi's ghostly reply is brief and enigmatic. The message requires no bearer. With that final exchange echoing in the darkness, Goreng makes a deliberate decision. He steps off the platform, and as he does so, the child remains behind. For a long moment, Goreng watches silently as the child begins to ascend on the platform, moving upward into the unknown.
If you enjoyed this video, please do well to like, subscribe, and comment on what movies you want us to review for you. Also, turn on the notification bell icon so you don't miss any of our videos. Thanks, and see you in the next video.